And we should hear something saying this meeting is being recorded.
Oh yeah, it shows in the top left there recording. Does that mean I need
Yeah.
to go over what I've been playing one more time?
No, we may just do some fancy editing, possibly.
Okay.
I don't know. What have I been playing? I've been playing a couple games. I'm playing some Borderlands, the original, and I've been enjoying that. Again, not only being a Nintendo person, that's my first experience at it. I did get BioShock. Never played BioShock before. I'm going to play BioShock and do some streaming of that because that is a first play through for me. But what else have I been playing? Well, I have been playing a party game that I want to bring everyone's attention to, and it is called Night Squad. No, so check this one out. It is Night Squad. It is done by the folks over at Chain Awesome, and it is an up to 8-player local party game. And you basically have a bunch of activities. It's top down, and there's challenges. So it's like teams of 4, and it's capture the flag. So it is, you have to run, capture the flag, or maybe it's deathmatch, or maybe it's soccer, or it is a ton of really easy, quick to pick up party games that are easily accessible. A couple buttons, that's it. And if you don't have 8 players, you only have 2 of you or only 1 of you, the rest of it is filled in with bots, and you can figure out how hard you want the bots to play as well. Very cool game, great party game. It reminds me of the idea of like you pick up something like Killer Queen Black, so that when you have friends over, you play Killer Queen Black. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of like party game. This is another great example of it, but I think the accessibility that they have done with it to allow for 8 players is such a great option. And the scalability of like, oh, you've only got 2, you've only got 3, that's fine. It was my wife, my daughter, and I were playing. We left one, the oldest daughter didn't want to play. So just 3 of us. So they literally said, okay, we're against Dad. And they went 2 on that side, I went on this side, and the rest filled in with bots. And we chose how hard we wanted the bots. That game is again called Night Squad. And it is out on the Nintendo Switch eShop right now. Tons of really, really cool games. They describe it as a retro party game reminiscent of Bomberman and old school Gauntlet. So check it out. Super, super cool. I think, again, Killer Queen Black, Towerfall, this is one of those games I would put in that kind of like party game, have people over category. And I don't think it's very expensive either. So check that out. The other game I've been playing, and maybe Tim, you and I can have a pocket talk about this, and Bobby, I'd like to hear yours. So I've been playing Outer Worlds. Finally was able to get a copy of that here locally. And I will say, let me just start off with saying this. I'm enjoying it. I never played a Fallout game before. Again, only Nintendo stuff, right? So I've never played a Fallout game. I've never had those decision trees, those conversations. But I will say one of the things I'm really impressed about for Outer Worlds, and the reason I was very interested in it is it was a kind of game of the year contender for a lot of people, is the story writing and the characters I find very compelling. And I will be very honest with you.
I agree.
The thing that I struggled with, that I haven't felt struggled with in a lot of games before, was the decisions I was being asked to make. And I don't want to spoil it too much. You know, I'll have a conversation a bit about it, Tim. And so again, if you're like, hey, I'm going to play Outer Worlds later, I've never played before, you may want to fast forward by about 3 minutes. This is a bit of spoiler zone. But your first mission is essentially you land on this planet, or you find your way to this planet. You're being asked to divert power from a small settlement back to kind of this main camp. And you go and you talk to the settlement, the camp, and they're kind of like, well, listen, we don't want to go back. The person's really mean. I'm going to tell you what they did. Like my child died at his hands, and he's not a very nice person, and this is horrible. And so you're kind of like, what do I do? Right? Because you have an objective of like, you need this power cell. So either you remove power here or you remove power somewhere else, but things aren't going to go well. And so you're really compelled to make this tough decision, knowing that someone's going to be upset with you or angry with you. And ultimately, and I'm going to be interested, Tim, what you did here. I diverted power back to the settlement, or not the settlement, the garden, but back to the city. And then I walked down to the city, and the person who gave me that task, I killed them. And then I walked back to the settlement. I said, good news, the person who was being a jerk is now dead. You can now return back to your community. And I felt good about that, but there was like a moral decisioning that I had to make that was really tough. I'm going to be very honest with you. So I'm enjoying it. I think it's very interesting, very good writing. Controls are okay. I'm going to be honest, and I think Tim, you talked about it. Graphics hit hard on this one, right? There are definitely like, hey, I'm running in this field, and all of a sudden it stops, and the load icon rolls for about 3 seconds, and then we go again, right? And you're like, ooh. And some of the color palettes and texture palettes are like, it looks like your kid's fingerprint paint. So it is definitely some challenges. It'll be interesting to see, and I think we talked about it earlier, what happens with this game. Is it going to kind of get the Witcher treatment where we are going to continue to see it grow and progress and get better and better and be the quality we need it to be? Or is it kind of like, no, we're done and dusted. It is what it is. You might get some little patches. It'll be interesting, but for a person who had never played that kind of franchise before, I'm enjoying it. And I think that's the thing, right? Games don't have to always be perfectly pretty, but I will say that the graphics definitely are pulling away from a little bit of my enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
Because you can see you're just pushing the system a little bit harder than it needs to. Pop-in's a little bit tough, that load screen there. Now, I have only played it docked. I have not played it in handheld at all. And my understanding is that handheld does clean up some of those things, makes it feel a little bit better. But I do a lot of Tim's giving me one of these like maybes, but docked is where I play most of it as well. Guys,
I got it for mainly because I wanted to play it in handheld, because if I was going to play it mainly docked, for you only have the Nintendo. For me, I have a PS4. So if I was going to play it docked, I might as well play it on my PS4. I got it because of the handheld factor. And I think that's the same reason why a lot of people chose The Witcher. And I tried to bring that up a lot in the video when I did the video for that game and did the streams for that game, for the Outer World, was that if you are a person who wants graphics first, then gameplay, go play it on Xbox or PlayStation or PC or wherever where it has the better graphics. Go there. You'll enjoy it better. If you're okay with the lesser graphics and you playing it for gameplay purposes, for the story and all that kind of stuff, and you want it on the go, obviously then you go with the Switch. And for me, that's why I was happy to get it. I too have not played a Fallout game. I've been very interested in those games. Just something I didn't want to sit down in front of the TV and play a lot of at the time. So when this was talked about coming out, I was excited about it. Then I heard it's coming to the Switch, even more excited. I knew it was going to take a hit graphically. I knew what I was going to get into. All I wanted it to do was be fun and give me a good narrative. And that's what it's been doing so far.
Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. I like it. All right, folks, I would say we're going to transition to another one. I don't think Jesse's coming back. I got a message from him that his internet has been completely offlined. So we're just going to continue this way. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our community spotlight. And this is where Jesse will be like, awesome. Thank you very much. Bobby, this is where we throw to the guest and say, tell us more about you. You've been here a lot, but talk to us about what we need to know about Bobby Paul's a Nintendo Guru.
I think a lot of what we're doing now is we've kind of transitioned. We're doing a lot of streaming now. I still do YouTube content daily. And I think that's the thing. Like I did this weird transition where I went from YouTube to I'm going to just be on Twitch all the time to now I'm back to YouTube, and I'm doing both pretty regularly. I'm streaming on YouTube and on Twitch, just because I'm trying to see where to go completely. Like I might be going completely back to YouTube. I don't know yet, but it's weird because every time I decide to do that, like I start to look at numbers and I'm like, well, my numbers are actually rising on Twitch now. So where do I go? And it's kind of weird. But anyway, that aside, that's neither here nor there. I do Nintendo content through and through. I got a podcast with Sean Capri called A Cup of Joe and Nintendo. It's about a 30-minute conversation where it's just him and I just acting like we're sitting down in the coffee shop having a conversation about Nintendo. And it's just a casual conversation. We don't get into the crazy topics and all the hot debates and the hot topics and stuff like that. We just talk about the things that we love and the things that we want to do. And it's a very casual conversation. And I feel like it comes off like that. And very bite-sized and very digestible with 30-minute podcast. It's like almost as we start getting going with some good stuff, it's like, okay, see you later. We're done. So I love that. I love that about the show.
One of my favorite shows, Bobby.
Thank you.
Love that show.
Thank you. And don't boo me. Get out of here, Justin. So then the other thing is on Wednesday nights, I stream live with Pat, Nintendo Talk, and we do a podcast called Nook Talk. And that is a 2-hour podcast where we do the first hour is basically a podcast format. And then the second half, we kick it to the audience that's watching live, and we get their questions. And it's been such an amazing thing to see the community show up for that show in droves. The questions that come out of it is just amazing. So we have such a good time with that. And then the other thing I do is I took the other podcast I was doing, Breaking Bells, and I've turned that into a daily show kind of, where my co-host now, Holly, who from years ago when I used to do the Geekcast, she was on that. And now me and her are doing a daily video where we both bring 2 topics each. And then we spend 10 to 15 minutes on one topic. And then on Mondays, one clip, one segment goes to her YouTube channel. Tuesdays it's mine. Wednesdays it's hers. Thursdays it's mine. And then that's basically what we do. And we don't handle big, heavy hitting topics. We kind of try to help the community in terms of like, you know, tips and tricks and stuff like that, like what can help you progress your game and different things. So it's kind of been a blast. And then the streaming is just basically all Animal Crossing all the time, and it's been phenomenal. We do a game, like I said earlier, we do a game called Nook or No Nook, which is just like Deal or No Deal, where what we do is we utilize the Discord. I'm like, hey, pick a number between 1 and 1,000, and I write the number down here on my desk, and then the person that comes closest to it is the contestant on the show. Bring them on, and then we play for a million bells, and it is such a blast. I built a set on my island, so they come and there's all these briefcases set up, and the one briefcase that's a million bells is gold. When you open it up, it's all gold bars, where the other ones are dollars. So then I have like this chart where I write down the prices, and then I move I blur my screen so they can't see, and I move the million bells where it needs to go, and then we play for it. And one person actually won. One person won a million bells, and it was such a blast.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
And it's so intense. Like the audience that's there, they're all into it. Like they're telling them, like they're trying to help. It's like a real game show. It's so funny, man. Such a blast. So, but that's what we're doing.
That is fantastic. So again, people can find you obviously over on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Guys, you know, Bobby's been part of our community, our friends for nearly 5 years, and just some tremendous work. If you have not already subscribed to him, showed him some love, make sure you do. And if you're an Animal Crossing fan, you have to be watching the content he's doing, because it is some awesome, awesome stuff.
Thank you.
Bobby, we're always so grateful to have you join us as well, despite me giving you barbs about everything. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start wrapping up the show here very quickly, but there are a couple things we have to do first. And foremost, we have to announce three months of eShop winners. We had forgot to do it during the pandemic, apparently. Whoops. Thank you, Tim, for keeping us honest. So drum roll. All right, our 3 winners for the months of March, April, and May are Christopher, Andy, and Ariel. We have got your email addresses. Tim, we're going to shoot them an email. Is that right?
Yes, or I think it's usually if when they hear this, reach out to Marty, but we'll definitely reach out to them via their email as well. So
perfect, excellent, and we have some $25 eShop cards to give away. And Tim, how did they get entered to win?
They were Patreons of our community, so
just like they could have been
$1 or more.
Yeah, $1 or more Patreon subscribers automatically entered to win potentially $25 of eShop gift cards every single month. We pull those as well.
Yep.
Right, moving over to our mailbag, and then we're going to wrap this up. We have got 2 questions here. One of these is actually very specific to Jesse. And for those of you like, where did Jesse go? Jesse just sent me a message. He's like, we have a complete internet outage at our city or our town or our house, so I'm out. So we're going to save this question for Jesse later. I'll make him to email this one back. But our next question comes from Mecha Dragon 101. He asks, "Hey Nintendo dads, I hope you're doing well, and it's good to see the world is still finally starting to reopen bit by bit now after the quarantine. My question for you, and I'm hoping I haven't asked this previously, is how far or how much of a game can take from another game before it goes for inspiration or love letter, or basically being a copycat or a ripoff of another game?" I asked this because I saw a comment on a trailer video Nintendo put up to promote a new indie game called Bug's Fables. And it was asked how the devs managed to get away with putting a game on the Switch that basically looks like it took so many concepts and ideas out of Paper Mario to the point where everyone can tell where its inspiration came from. People replied on the comments saying that tons of indie games don't even bother to hide where their inspiration or concepts came from. Examples, Axiom Verge or Blossom's Tale. I hope this question makes sense, and I'm looking forward to the podcast. Thanks very much. And that's from Mecha Dragon. So very interesting question. There's another game, obviously, and so great reference out to Bug Fables, but there's another game where I saw a trailer for, again, Windbound, I believe it's called, coming out in August. And it, like, if it does not look like a 1-star version of Breath of the Wild, right? Like it is
identical.
Looks identical, like game mechanics, almost environments, like so much so that I was watching, I was like, how are you not getting sued? Like it felt so much. So the question about what is the difference between, I guess, inspiration, love letter, and carbon copy?
So for people that always wonder why Nintendo is very sue happy with their IPs, this is why. There is, and this goes back to the NES days when there was Street Fighter, obviously, and I think it was something else Fighter, and they were very identical games. And what happened was not Street Fighter, the other game sued Street Fighter and Capcom. And when it went to court, the judge basically was like, they're different enough. And they were basically carbon copy games, identical games. So that's why Nintendo immediately started, like, they're all about the IPs. Like, you got to be protective of the IP. I'm not really, like, I look at games like Blossom Tales and Axiom Verge, and I'm okay with those games. I love those games. I think they're great games. I think I start to run into the problem when people are making games, utilizing Nintendo IP, utilizing Nintendo assets, and then Nintendo shuts it down, and then they flip out like Nintendo's the big bad wolf. And my thing is like, if you want to do a Nintendo game like a top-down Zelda, go do your top-down Zelda. Just do it better. You know, and I think that's what Blossom Tales does. Blossom Tales takes A Link to the Past, and I think does it as good, if not better, because of the funny storyline. And listen, they're not hiding it. They come straight out and tell you, like, this is where we got it. There's even, like, jokes in the game about that, you know, about Link and all that stuff. And, like, so they're not trying to hide what they're doing. They're basically doing an homage. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that your biggest problem is when they basically steal the IP to some degree. That's where I have the problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other part of it is that, you know, when you think of the gaming maturity or growth, right? Like everything feels like it's borrowing from something.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like the term Metroidvania,
yeah,
right? Like you can call it. So is it take inspiration from Castlevania or Metroid? Like when you think of these kind of these foundational games that came into existence back in the 80s and 90s that we were so smitten with, I think A Link to the Past is a great example there, Bobby. Of course, you're going to be inspired by those things. You're inspired by the things you're attached to or that you remember, right? And now, presuming that all of a sudden they're like, and this is our character Link, and he's wearing a green tunic, he's wearing a red tunic, just so it's different, and it's the exact same game. That's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
But I think when you can take inspiration from an idea and move it forward or change it or make it your own, I think that's great, right? I think Axiom Verge is a great example of that. Again, you may reference that as well. Games steal from games all the time, from ideas, battle systems, methodologies, storylines, right? Like, hey, here's the sharp reality. There's really no original ideas anymore.
No, not anymore.
Right? So let's be honest. It is what it is. I
think the easiest or the best answer to this was when Breath of the Wild came out, people were going to, I think it's what, Tokyo Studio or Studio Tokyo, whatever, and they were like, "Hey, man, Nintendo ripped off Dark Souls." And Dark Souls, the producers and stuff came out like, I think we've stolen a lot. I think developers over the years have stolen a lot of stuff from Nintendo. I think it's okay for them to take back at this point.
Yeah.
And everybody copies everybody. It's just what happens,
Yeah, exactly. Great question, though. Great conversation. Again, just quick reminder, Andrew, we did see your email. Jesse has abandoned us, so we will have him comment to you directly. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is the end of the show. Before we wrap it up, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
Where do people find you?
Instagram, Twitter, at Nintendo Gurus. Check us out over on nintendoguru.com, youtube.com/Nintendo Guru. That's it.
Good. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's a very late night. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim, anything else that I'm missing before we wrap it up?
No, sir. I think we got it all here.
Okay, I love your silence. You're just kind of like, yes, yes.
Just listening, watching the show from far.
Yep.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to give some big, huge thanks out to our Patreon producers. That's Chris Mears, Dave Ernsberg, Sean Abbott, and Antonio Contrario. Guys, hey, we've got a website, nintendodads.org. Head over there. You can check out all of our information on there. It has links to all of our social, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, the podcast feed, Instagram, Twitch, all the things that we are on, so do it. We got a merch shop and all that stuff, so if you want a quilt with my face on it, with this mustache, you absolutely can have that. All right, of course, ladies and gentlemen, you can also email us just like Mecha Dragon and Andrew did. We may or may not read your emails. I'm going to be straight out honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Head over to nintendodads@gmail.com. Or, of course, if you want to leave a voicemail, and I will say we did have a voicemail that did call in earlier in the show. Ladies and gentlemen, again, that goes on Jesse because he usually sends it through. So we're kind of like flying without a wingman right now. But if you do have a voicemail, 929-25-NDADS or 929-256-3237. Big thanks to OC Remix and Carter Johnson and Adam Leonard for our amazing artwork. I'm going to tease this. I'm going to drop a tease here. A change is a-coming to Nintendo Dads. Stay tuned on our social feeds. You will see something new coming in the coming weeks. That is what I will say. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, you can catch us on all of your favorite podcast catchers. That's CastBox, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Music, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, we're there. And by the way, while you're there, tickety-tack, write a 5-star or 4-star review. If you want to write a 3-star, 2-star, 1-star review, head over to Cup of Joe on any podcast platform, and you can leave a crappy review there. But not these guys. These guys are 4 or 5 stars, not Cup of Joe. Am I right, Bobby Pauls?
Well, the one thing
Yes, I am right.
No, wait. One thing I want to say to you, you messed up totally. You're trying to hype your social medias. You didn't do it right. It's called, if you want to get people hyped up, you got to tell them, don't call it a comeback, and everything is good.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 284. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, a couple things to be aware of. We are going to try and do the best that we can a live reaction to EA Play. Does Justin get Apex Legends? Is Plants vs. Zombies coming? Will Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order come to the Nintendo Switch? Probably not. But we're going to be live reacting, and we hopefully that you will tune in. And then that night, ladies and gentlemen, we have got another podcast hot off the heels where we're going to pull in together all the news. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Be well, be safe, take care of each other. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And that's where the end of the show goes.
So I just hit stop on the recording, right? Okay.
Yep.
And pray to God that it's actually working. Let's just stop cloud recording. So